So it's looking like after Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens had that threatening feud online, Marcellus Wiley had to step in the conversation because it was all surrounding Max Kellerman. We all know Marcellus Wiley and Max Kellerman, they had worked alongside before. Marcellus Wiley has a good relationship with Max Kellerman, so Marcellus Wiley had to come out and expose Stephen A. Smith for pretty much just lying about the whole entire thing. And some of the stuff that Stephen A. Smith was saying on Joe Budden podcast, Marcellus Wiley really disliked that. So that's the reason why he had to step in the conversation and he had to expose some real things about Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman's real relationship. So with that being said, let's check out what Marcellus Wiley had to say. Here's a video.
I know Max. I know Stephen A. Stephen A. wanted Max for very specific reasons. Now, I'm going to say these reasons, and everybody's going to have a reaction. He wanted Max first because he was white. He wanted Max second because he was intelligent. He wanted Max third because Max can speak on all things. But I don't think he paid enough attention because he got slapped in the face with who Max really is. And then y'all saw the awkwardness that ensued because Max all of a sudden couldn't be who Max really was. Let me take you through it. Stephen A.'s first take, the show wanted Max to speak for white America. Especially when you lose Skip Bayless, you get Max. Now, it's not just Max speak for white America, but that would allow Stephen A., brother, get to speak for black America. Now, here's the problem. Stephen A., the entertainer, had to meet Max Kellerman, the educator. And boy, that was a class that had a different lesson plan. Stephen A. realized quickly that he was dealing with a whole different animal, especially on black issues, especially on societal issues. He started to realize he was getting outshined in those conversations. Outshined for these reasons, and I know these reasons, because Max Kellerman is not only a historian, he has a degree in history from Columbia University, same school I went to, Ivy League school. But the dude is a bona fide genius. Like, he is next level brainiac, for real. High school test scores off the charts. Like, next level dude. I'm just giving it to you like it is. And Stephen A. Smith has admitted many a times how he had his own learning disabilities and issues growing up. So that is, no matter how much he has advanced past that, and you can see the immense vocabulary, etc., and his intelligence on display, it's an insecurity for Stephen A. because he speaks on it as how that was an insecurity. That's fine. But now we got a problem because you got Max Kellerman in there who's supposed to go with the flow on these conversations or defer.
Okay, so Marcellus Wiley was pretty much just saying that Stephen A. Smith thought Max Kellerman was going to be some type of dumb analyst that he would just debate, probably have some type of good heated debates like you will see Stephen A. Smith have with Jay Will, Kendrick Perkins, JJ Riddick. But as we can see, that was not the case with Max Kellerman. Even when Stephen A. Smith took it upon himself to disrespect Max Kellerman always stayed composed. He just stuck with debating and exposed some facts. And that's what Stephen A. Smith disliked. It would make him look dumb, especially when they would talk about black issues, because Stephen A. Smith would just talk about his emotions and feelings, and then Max Kellerman would come with some facts and historical background.
We are protesters. We got a lot to protest about. But when you riot, particularly in your own community, in the past I'm talking about, why is that something that we've lamented? Because when the fire stops burning and the damage has been done, and you've done it in your own community, where do you go from there? The Detroit riots, for example, in 1967, they still have never fully recovered from that, how they ravaged their own community at that particular moment in time. I only bring that up to say this. In this regard, and I only bring that up to say this. In this regard, when you're looking at the NBA, you're not talking about the players. You're talking about the collateral effect that it has on people the sport employs, on people in local economies who feed off of that. The fact is, just something like that, canceling the NBA season, it's not just going to affect the players. It's going to affect thousands upon thousands of people, millions, if not billions of dollars of economies. And that's going to have a ripple effect. You can't ignore that. Because that's going to affect us.
Obviously,
that's not about games.
It's better not to riot. I'm not pro-riot, okay? Let me be very clear about that off the top.
I'm not saying that. I just brought that up.
Rioting in their own communities, black people don't own those communities. They don't own those communities, and this culture has been rioting against black people for hundreds of years now.
That wasn't my point,
so it's just interesting. But they're not. The property they're destroying is not their own, even, in fact. I'm not. So that's why I said it's not like the idea that, well, this is counterproductive. It may be in certain ways. It is in certain ways. Not maybe. I don't want to. It is in certain ways, and it's it's better not to riot. However, it's not in all the ways that's presented in the media.
Colin Kaepernick showed leadership because a lot of others have followed his lead.
Yes.
But what happens when someone shows leadership, and you see it in labor relations? You know who never got paid? Kurt Flood. You know who got paid because of Kurt Flood? Everyone else. It is very possible what we're seeing now is the sacrifice of Colin Kaepernick's career on the altar of social and racial progress. And when he doesn't get a job, and I did not come out right away when they said blackballed, right? I did not come out right away.
Max, preach.
Yes, that's what's happening because I thought he's looking for a starting job. Maybe he's seen as a bubble starter. You got to change your offense. He'll get a backup job. But now the results are in. The evidence is in. He does not have a starting job. He does not have a backup job. 31 of the owners are old white men, right? And precisely the issue that Colin Kaepernick is protesting is systematic racial injustice, which starts with the international slave trade, the Middle Passage, the institution of slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, ongoing systematic oppression, which has created racial imbalance in terms of social justice. That's essentially what Colin Kaepernick is protesting. And the fact that then an almost exclusively white club of owners, because unless you believe that black people are intrinsically inferior at making money, I guess that's not true, right? Unless you believe that, then you also understand that the fact that the NFL is an all-white club at the ownership level, essentially, is a result of that injustice. Think of the irony that he doesn't have a job, partly because he's protesting the very reason that right now he doesn't have a job.
Hold on. Wow.
That's not. So, yeah, even when Stephen A. Smith would poke his chest out, Max Kellerman refused to get out of his body and make himself look foolish live on television, probably messing up the debate, mainly arguing his feelings instead of his facts and notes and stuff that he would just come on the show and debate Stephen A. Smith with. And that's the problem with debate culture. So you got to think, Stephen A. Smith came on Joe Budden podcast and said that Max Kellerman is not an athlete and he doesn't have a journalist background, and that was missing from the show.
You know, listen, I had mad respect from him from the standpoint that white dude, highly intelligent, Ivy League educated from Columbia, smart as a whip, can talk his ass off, can talk about anything. And I get all of that. But you weren't an athlete and you weren't a journalist. And the absence of the two components left people wondering, why should we listen to you?
Be sure to hit that like button for me if you haven't already. That helps this YouTube channel continue to grow. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, stay up to date with all of my current YouTube videos. Peace. You got to think about it. Max Kellerman is not one of these guys that would really come on a show and have these hot takes that you will see like Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp when they will blow up at each other. Kendrick Perkins and J.J. Riddick having heated debates. Sometimes Stephen A. Smith and J.J. Riddick have heated debates. We didn't really see too much of that with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. And that's because Max Kellerman came there with his facts and backed it up with a lot of historical facts as well. So, you know, it's hard to really debate with somebody like that. And Stephen A. Smith was coming on that show very insecure. Just like when Quavo came on the show and he was talking with Kendrick Perkins and they had like this little fun back and forth. Max Kellerman was on the show as well. When Quavo had left the screen, you saw a cut to Stephen A. Smith and he had a complete attitude about that, acting like a diva, saying he didn't know anything about that. He didn't like that. And you saw how awkward it was with Molly and Max Kellerman being there. And they was just like kind of confused why he was acting like that.
It's all love. Listen, if we had beef, we would have made hamburgers, and either two things would have happened. Either Quavo would have been grilling and he would have been serving triple meats, or I would have been grilling and serving little sliders. That's what would have happened if we would have had beef. It's no beef. It's just a little. It's just a little lip boxing, okay? It's a little lip boxing, and I'm all cool with it. Like I said, when I used to have to walk in the cafeteria and I had them high water pants on because I couldn't afford the long jeans, I had to be ready to clap back at people used to make fun of me. I'm used to it.
We all came from nothing, Big Perk. You know that. We all came from nothing. And we here today. You feel what I'm saying?
And you're both doing your thing, onward and upward. Thank you guys so much for being with us. Who knew First Take would become Switzerland? Quavo, we appreciate you. Good luck to your Hawks, Big Perk. I'm sure I'll be talking to you tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for the time. Culture 3, it's out tomorrow. All right, gentlemen.
Were you not entertained? That was entertaining.
I wasn't.
You were not entertained?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, I was entertained.
I didn't like it one bit.
Why is that?
Because I don't. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't. I had nothing to do with that. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay. You want to talk the games? Who wins tonight?
Brooklyn will win. I'm sorry. Milwaukee is the only chance that they get swept. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee tonight, and I'm going to go with Utah, win game 2.
Milwaukee's getting swept. They're not competing. And
Getting swept?
yeah, Milwaukee's getting swept.
Really?
Yeah, it got
You don't
worse.
think she's...
So you got to think about it. That's how Stephen A. Smith was coming on the show. Max Kellerman was not coming on that show like that. He didn't make the workplace uncomfortable for Stephen A. Smith. It was the complete opposite, and that's because Stephen A. Smith feared his job working alongside Max Kellerman. And of course, that's just my opinion. And I think that's what Marcellus Wiley was pretty much exposing in his video as well. So be sure to go check out Marcellus Wiley's full video. I'll have the link to that down below. Go check out his YouTube channel. He has more videos on this topic as well. And yeah, man, that's it for today's video, guys. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like videos like this. Don't forget to subscribe up as well if you're new to my channel. I'll catch you guys on the next video, and we out, guys. Peace.